This is Chapter 10 of Hotsy Totsy Feminazi, The Inaccessible Mind. From the very first, Stacy withheld her feelings. Maybe genetics or some kind of trauma from her childhood made her such that truly connecting with another person just became too risky. My mother is one of the most non-invasive people I've ever known. Her respect for a person's mental and emotional sovereignty is striking in her unrelenting ability to accept people as they are. Her desire to influence a person to suit her character does not exist. Though she has a degree in psychology, I've never known her to be judgmental. I've lived with her and listened to her for the last 15 years. Stacy found her very easy to trust because Mom did not require Stacy to be forthcoming about the fears or anxieties that she held so dear. The connection between them was one of trust, but not enough trust to make the relationship personal. Stacy trusted Mom to not get personal. Stacy could only be comfortable with such a relationship as that. Mom was able to sincerely provide that. We don't know when it happened. Maybe it was always the case, but Stacy made a commitment to not be happy. In fact, the only time she showed happiness was when she reveled in her pregnancy. I did see that. After each child was born, the desire to become pregnant again was her goal. I sometimes wonder if there isn't a biological chemical like an endorphin that her body creates during pregnancy. The change in her between pregnant and not was striking. As I said, my mother noted many times that Stacy was determined to not be happy. This was conclusively true after I received a vasectomy. I cannot remember a smile on her face after that time. She was sad from the time I met her. I believe that I may have found this somehow attractive. I always wanted to perk up her sad eyes. Sometimes I did. I never said no to Stacy for 15 years. I believe that having the vasectomy was literally turning off her drug. For us, it was truly a point of no return, a Rubicon, if you will. My question is still, what on earth does Stacy gain by this commitment to negativity? I remember a decade of never being able to do one thing right. Nothing I did was going to be okay with Stacy. Though I did the grocery shopping for the family for over 15 years, after that time I gave Stacy money and asked her to do the shopping because she had the time, was no longer constantly pregnant, and I was insanely busy trying to work to pay our expenses. I remember handing her $40 for groceries and having her look at the money in my hand and say 2 words. Not enough. I should have smacked her face, but we all know not to hit girls. Instead, I said, Stacy, when somebody hands you money, it's a good thing. You say thank you. There will be more tomorrow, but this will get you through today. The next day, I handed her 100. This time she said condescendingly, Okay, good. You do know we will need more, right? I had been providing a living for my wife, 7 children, and a passel of cats for 20 years at that time. Had never been late for a payment on anything. Had 747 credit and had never had a poorly stocked cupboard. Never, ever. As I said before, that kind of disrespect is worthy of a slap across the face, but a slap across the face would not have helped. Her problems were far deeper than her skin. Let it also be known that at that time, we had over a half a dozen unused joint account credit cards. There was never a worry of missing a meal in my house. Again, I ask, what did she have to gain by making herself so irreconcilably dissatisfied? Stacy had a disposition that was difficult to describe. She wasn't overtly angry. She wasn't what you would call moody, because her mood changed only subtly. She went from mildly indifferent to mildly happy to silent, the silence being just a step away from indifference. I really think that what she was sad. She just would never trust anyone enough to tell them what the hell she was so sad about. In a marriage, communication is essential. If you don't want a person to care about you, don't marry one. The person you marry will feel your trouble. That person will want to help you. When you shut that person out, you insult that person. You frustrate that person. It's not fair. Then there were the people around her. It seemed that her goal in life was to never let anyone see her truly, fully happy. I have to believe that each and every one of our children knows that in some way they have not quite made her as happy as they should have. I pray that this is not the case. She was so fully committed to getting rid of me that if that's what it took to make her happy, I hope that my exile has at least accomplished that, and she'd not simply shift the burden of her perpetual dissatisfaction and disapproval from me to them. This is a bit of a jump in the chapter, but I give both of us a pass for innocence. Stacy was jolted directly from her childhood into a commitment to adulthood. I had been trying to enter adulthood from age 14 and really didn't understand that this was not good or desired by everybody. Stacy committed, and to me, the commitment seemed natural. It was, after all, natural for me. I didn't understand that some people just need more time to mature. Stacy did not do well in the work world. She was uncomfortable with mean or inconsiderate coworkers and offended by bossy bosses. After 2 years, she threw in the towel for trying to make a life for herself by working. She couldn't go home to her parents. She had turned her back on them. Essentially, forever. She wanted to stay home. She utilized motherhood to get herself out of the working world. I had worked from the age of 12. I had 3 paper routes at one time. A morning route, the Star Ledger, the paper Tony Soprano reads on the TV show, the Newark Evening News, and a weekly town paper, the Independent Press. At 15, I worked for Frankie's Futurematic Car Wash, totally off the books, and at 16, got my working papers and my first on-the-books job as a retail clerk union member at the Brookdale ShopRite. I was trained to work with an indefatigable work ethic. Immature and foolish? Yes, I was. Ill-prepared? I'll admit to it freely. But even if lacking, I was a young man. I did not realize that Stacy was just a little girl. How could I? I was married to her. Without realizing it, I had to raise her. I thought that we were a team. After all, we had to be. I didn't realize for years that I was alone. Then there was the betrayal. That's the end of this chapter, The Inaccessible Mind. The next chapter, chapter 11, is the story of the betrayal. And it's the next video I'll make. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll be back with the rest.